Welcome to Butcher Block Horror Podcast, where we exhume horror movies from the past and cut into what makes them so delectable. I'm Kane.
I'm JD.
You're JD. Yeah. Oh, okay. And I'm Joe.
And today we're going to be throwing Night of the Creeps. Oh, wait, no. It's not Night of the Creeps. It's all right. Yeah, we're going to be throwing Slither. We're going to be throwing Slither onto the slab and carving up our favorite portions to force feed to you, our unwitting victims. If you enjoy the taste of these feasts of fright, then give us a like and subscribe, being sure to click the bell. Consider taking a look at our website. We give you brainworms.com. You can also, at that website, go to our Patreon, where you can directly support the show and any of our other projects. But I promise you, we're not going to use it to buy grain alcohol for Joe's incredibly destructive drinking problem.
You know, I like to party when I'm sad, and I don't think that's a crime.
So you've just spun this around onto Joe.
Hold on. There's the link to our Discord community, and you should join that so that you have a chance to hang out with us and talk about stuff. Although JD won't be there because he can't fucking figure it out.
Is that the reason, or is it because technology sucks my bunghole?
Yeah, listeners, what you don't know is that JD records his part of the podcast on an old boombox where you have to push the play button and the record button at the same time.
And then we take that recording after he mails it to us, and we plug it into my computer, and then I clean up what I can, and then I send it to Joe, and he's the one that actually makes the magic happen.
You just made it sound like I understand how to utilize the U.S. Postal Service, though. Don't I typically tie that recording to a crow's foot, and then it's like a messenger bird.
Yeah.
Cool.
You actually wind it all the way around its feet.
Oh, the magnetic tape just wrapped around.
I don't actually get a cassette. I just get a
spool of nonsense.
No, this like Griswold Christmas light knot of magnetic strip.
But it also protects that your eyes from that raven, because that raven would instinctively go to dig your shit out.
Not me. I've raised this raven since it was like an egg, and it thinks of me as its parent. So,
Is that because you vomit hot dogs into its mouth?
No, I actually do night crawlers and stink bugs.
Nice.
You're a good dad to that crow.
Very good dad. You're a tender.
And it's not a crow; it's a raven.
Okay,
it's
about twice the size of the crow.
Right. It would have to be.
Yeah,
it's the crow's older brother or the raven's older brother.
But hey, yeah. So we're doing Night of the Creeps. I mean, we're doing Slither.
Say it one more time, motherfucker. Everybody's all doo-dooing on this movie, but guess what? Fuck you.
It's a good movie. It is.
It was a great movie. I love this movie. I think this movie's fantastic. If you don't think that it's like the 2006, it's like the 30 years later revamp of Night of the Creeps, you're kidding yourself.
There are many elements in common. That is a fact. But
wait.
I deem Slither as an important movie.
What is the main baddie in the movie?
Capitalism.
Is it an alien?
Clearly.
Okay, so the main baddie in the movie is an alien, and it creates a bunch of what? What are those things?
Zombies?
No. What are the things that they create that then go and make zombies?
Veal
like little zygotes?
little like
gelatinous tubular formations.
Exactly.
Tubular bells, part 1.
Yeah. Little pork tenderloins that are
I love those
ground.
things.
Yeah.
Pork tenderloins. I would never eat one, but they make
they
great
jump
aliens.
into your mouth, and the only way to protect yourself from being taken over is to cover your orifices. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have a choice not to eat one. It's just going to jump down your holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It likes the pie hole.
I love this movie. I think this movie is a really fun movie. But it's not shot for shot, but it's
got some influence.
It's not an influence.
It's influenced.
It's not just
you can't go further than it's influenced because it's a different movie. It's not the same movie. It's not a remake.
There's a bunch of horror films that it's paying homage to. That's absolute
and that's
fact.
Part of what I love about it. I enjoy horror films that pay tribute, tip the cap to other horror films, because every horror film is standing on the shoulders of another horror film, in essence.
I'll give you that.
So, Slither, it's 95-minute screen time, was released March 31st of 2006 with a budget of $15 million, and it grossed, sadly, $12.8 million at the box office. And now I have no idea how the fuck it grossed $12.8 million, because I will tell you, I saw Slither the first weekend that it was in theaters, and then I went to go see it again because I enjoyed it so much, and it was already gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you make an homage movie. Some people really love it, and some people don't.
Tricky shit, though, for real.
Well, that and it's a very niche horror movie, and just by nature, those tend to not do well.
Well, I enjoyed it.
Me too.
No, I liked it too. Like, by no means am I shit-talking the movie.
I am absolutely shit-talking the movie, but in a way that I like shit-talk you guys. Like, I love the movie. I think Slither is a great movie. I watch it multiple times a year, every year. I like to make fun of the fact that it's basically Night of the Creeps 2.0.
Why do you hate the things that you love?
Because you always hurt the ones you love. That's how love works. All right, so do you guys want a shitty synopsis?
Fuck yeah, let's go.
Let's do the synopsis.
Okay, a small, quiet town of country bumpkins gets struck by a meteor, which spawns dreadful alien organisms as they threaten to transform, mutate, and devour life on Earth. The town's so-called sheriff and a few like-minded folks set out to stop it.
Holy shit, is that it?
I got about another page and a half to read.
That was a good synopsis. You're learning.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm learning.
Now, did you just pick up the DVD and just read that off the back of it, or was that?
No, I wrote that.
Wow.
It was good.
I'm very proud of you.
I liked it.
I think it was more of the voice that I spoke it in.
Well, no, I think it was the content as well. Anyone that is listening to this right now on YouTube, if you could just go ahead and go into the comment section and tell JD he did a really great job on that synopsis, because Joe and I we're very proud of him.
Avid haters of my common synopsis.
Also tell JD he's pretty.
He is pretty.
Oh, damn. Y'all are too kind.
All right, so now that we've got the synopsis out of the way,
Yeah.
We'll talk about James Gunn, because he's the shit. It was his directorial debut, Slither. James Gunn wrote and directed this film. It was produced by Paul Brooks and Eric Newman. I'm going to go ahead and open up with a little bit about James Francis Gunn Jr., born in 1966 in St. Louis, Missouri. I like to call it Missouri. Anyway, Gunn is an American filmmaker, director, actor, producer, and screenwriter. He kind of does it all. He began his career as a screenwriter in the 90s, working for Troma Entertainment. Are y'all familiar?
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, Redneck Zombies, baby. Redneck Zombies. Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. Oh yeah, know all about Troma.
None of which were written by James Gunn.
Really, Poultrygeist, I think of factory farming. They almost strictly create B movies banking on shock value, exploitation, gore, and blatant violence.
I like most
And
of
I
those
would like to
things.
state that Lloyd Kaufman actually said cool to a post that I made on Twitter
Nice.
through Butcher Block.
You see what happens when you tweet at celebrities? They might acknowledge us.
Shut up, Joe.
Lloyd Kaufman actually had a small role in Slither. Did you know that?
I did not.
I
know
didn't.
that.
Yeah, he was just a happy drunk guy,
Me too.
right?
No, you're a sad drunk guy, Joe. Sad. Sad.
No. The
Sad.
drinking makes the sadness go away.
It doesn't. You think that it does, but it doesn't.
Oh man.
Well, in the long term, alcohol is a depressant, so you have to drink more to become happy than to become sad again, than to drink more than to become happy.
it's just a Mobius strip.
It's a vicious cycle. Yeah. So anyway, as a company, I'm speaking of Troma still. They do a ton of like recycling of actors, sets, props, and they do it all to kind of save money in a very cheesy, dickheaded, rather funny way, but very just stylized cheese. Anyway, so, but yeah, James Gunn worked for them for a number of years to begin his career with, and he actually wrote Tromeo and Juliet, and he wrote one of my favorite Troma films, Terror Firmer, if you guys are familiar.
Nice.
Yeah, Gunn also acted in Tromeo and Juliet. James Gunn wrote and directed quite a few movies. Like I mentioned, Slither was his directorial debut. Anyway, he also wrote Scooby-Doo and a bunch of other movies floating around out there. He also wrote Dawn of the Dead from 2004.
The one that Zack Snyder ruined.
Yep.
Yeah. He also wrote and directed Guardians of the Galaxies Parts 1, 2, and 3. And then he wrote and produced a horror movie called The Belko Experiment.
Mm-hmm.
He was involved with a few Avengers movies. And Gunn has a few small awards as a director and writer. He won the Bram Stoker Award in 2005 for Best Screenplay for Dawn of the Dead, and a Chainsaw Award issued by Fangoria magazine for Slither.
Yep.
In the category of highest body count, because Slither had an alarmingly high body count.
It's true.
Gunn also won a Saturn Award for Slither, and it was the Filmmakers Showcase Award. So now on to the producers of Slither. Paul Brooks and Eric Newman. No relation to Alfred E. Newman.
Whackity schmackity do.
The E stands for Enigma, if anyone knew that. I doubt it. Anyway, I was a big Mad Magazine kid.
Yeah, me too.
So was I.
So yeah, Eric Newman, born at a place in time.
Do we have any specifics?
I think he was actually born in Los Angeles.
Okay.
But I'm unsure of the year. He's a difficult person to find personal information on. Anyway, he was an executive producer on Black Sheep with Chris Farley and David Spade in 1996. There was a time before all that where Newman worked for Saturday Night Live, developing talent. Kind of worked with some of the comedians and just sort of tried to further their careers. Newman is also known to be a huge horror film fan. He produced Dawn of the Dead of 2004, The Last Exorcism in 2010, The Last Exorcism Part 2 in 2013.
It's not really the last one if you make a part 2.
That's a great point. In between there somewhere, he also produced The Thing of 2011.
Blech.
Yeah. Also, the Sacrament of 2013, and I like to call that movie the Nut Sacrament.
The Nut Sacrament. I like it.
Yep. Which is a found footage style horror film. That's my least favorite kind of horror film, is the whole found footage genre.
I think remakes are my least favorite
All right,
genre.
I stand corrected. Remakes piss me off the most. Second in line is found footage, and they can...
What about a found footage remake?
Ooh, that thing could totally go fuck itself. Fuck itself hard.
See, I actually enjoy found footage if it's done well.
I like it when it works, yeah.
I could see that.
I don't like found footage when it's just, it gives the filmmakers an excuse to be lazy and not film things.
Right. Shaky cams.
Yeah. Well, and that, like, oh shit, here comes the monster. Oh fuck, the camera just flipped up toward the ceiling. And now we just have to imagine what's happening.
Have you guys seen The Taking of Deborah Logan?
Yeah, I watched it with you.
Okay.
I have not seen that.
That is a sort of, it's a found footage, like, documentary style film.
Okay.
And that movie is fucking tight.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
All right, I'm going to have to check it out. I will take your recommendation. But to me, found footage horror films are like the biggest method of phoning something in.
They can be, for sure.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I can't really do it.
I mean, I would argue that there's elements of found footageness in Deranged. Because the events have already taken place. We as the audience are being invited to bear witness to them by our narrator.
It's more documentary style, though. That's found footage is like, hey, I'm this dickhead with a camcorder. I'm going to go out and like...
Also, Hell House LLC.
I haven't seen that. Heard it's good.
Yeah, that's a really good found footage movie.
The Wreck movies are also...
Yes. Oh my God, yes. The Wreck movies are fantastic.
They use the found footage, filming method in a really effective way, I feel.
What we're saying, JD, is that there are good found footage films.
Found fiddle films.
Fiddle faddle, fiddle fowl.
Fiddle faddle.
You know what? Let's keep this going.
That's what I was trying to do.
I apologize, all right? I just didn't want everyone to think that we all think found footage is shit.
Yeah,
It's
JD
just
doesn't
you.
speak for us.
Oh, I speak for myself. I think found footage horror films suck, and I'll stick to that.
The good ones are good, though.
Right. Anyway, so the other producer of Slither is Paul Brooks. And he was also born at some time in a place.
There's a lot of that in this movie.
Yeah,
to be
Anyway.
honest with you.
I ran into some of that, too.
He was born in London, England, which is very cool. Brooks formed a film company in 1993 called Metrodome Films, and they were responsible for some controversial films that I have not seen. I'm just going on what I've researched. Anyway, one of those films goes by the title Beyond Bedlam. And there was another cult horror movie called Darklands in 1997 that was directed by Julian Richards. Some cult murders a journalist, and they end up being like a cult of murderous devil worshippers, which just sounds really great.
Yeah.
I don't really see how you go wrong with that.
It can be done.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, just based off of that description, I'm down. Count me in.
Yeah.
So Brooks, he has been the president of Gold Circle Films since 2001. He received an Academy nom for Shadow of the Vampire.
Excellent film.
Yeah, he's produced all sorts of, some of these are great films, some of them are not so great films, but I'm going to go ahead and read a list of horror films that he has produced. White Noise, The Haunting of Connecticut, Blood Creek, The Fourth Kind, which is not necessarily a horror film, but it's a film that I found to be very entertaining, more on the sci-fi category. But have you seen The Fourth Kind?
No.
Alien abduction movie.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it.
Bunch of white trash see owls, and Anyway.
Sounds fun.
It's cool, yeah. And then he also produced Whisper, and then White Noise Part 2.
Which also had
Ooh.
Nathan Fillion in it.
It did.
Wasn't a great movie, though.
No.
No, not
Not great.
not your jam. So yeah, those were the producers and directors. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, Joe,
Yeah,
why don't you give us a little insight into the writing?
sure thing. As discussed, this movie was written by your boy James Gunn. JD got into his writing credentials pretty deep. I do want to reiterate that he wrote the Dawn of the Dead film that Zack Snyder ruined, and because it was the fucking early 2000s, Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed, the video game Lollipop Chainsaw, which was a fun video game, and a short film called Dolphin Man Battles the Sex Lobsters
Holy shit!
that I
Sign
haven't
me up.
seen, but I'm intrigued about.
I don't think anyone has seen that. Has anyone seen that? Listeners, have you seen Dolphin Man Battles the Sex Lobsters?
It's on his IMDb page. That's all I can speak confidently about.
What a curveball.
Yeah, he's kind of a weird guy, James Gunn.
Yes, he is.
I've got some notes in my notebook about a cinematographer. Should I talk about that?
Yeah.
I'd like it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Canadian cinematographer Gregory Middleton, who also is kind of a mystery, which I don't know what it is about Slither alum that information doesn't exist about them on the internet, but I couldn't find anything more specific about him than he is Canadian. He's a graduate of the University of British Columbia. He's worked on a couple movies. The only one that jumped out at me was Underworld, but he did a lot of TV work, including, do you remember the show Millennium from the 90s with Lance Henriksen?
Yes.
I had to block it out.
I believe it was an X-Files spinoff, yeah.
It was an X-Files spinoff. Yep.
I liked it, but I was also like 12, so...
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen it since it first came out.
Sure. But yeah, he did a lot of TV work, Game of Thrones, Fringe. He worked on the Watchmen miniseries last year,
Which was great.
which was very good, I've heard. I haven't seen it, for which he won a Primetime Emmy. And he's gotten quite a few nom-nom-noms from various Canadian and American filmmaking, give awards out for his cinematography.
Nice.
It's good stuff.
That's all I got. I like when the writer and the director are the same person, because then,
JD does half your work.
yeah.
And I don't mind it either for some reason, because it's fun to talk about someone that's a prolific artist.
Yeah, what he said, but also, yes.
Right. All right. Well, then I guess I should probably go ahead and start talking about the actors in this film, huh?
Yeah, if you want.
Yes.
Don't get cocky, Joe. All right.
I didn't blow up a Death
All
Star.
right. So we'll start from the top here. We got Elizabeth Banks, I married a cosmic monster, and all I got was this stupid head wound. She played the role of Starla Grant.
Elizabeth Banks ruled in this movie, I thought.
Yeah, she was good.
I mean, she's a great actor. Like, yeah, that's a given. She was born February 10th, 1974 in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Her dad was a Vietnam vet and a GE factory worker, and her mom was a banker. And she actually got her start in acting in a school play. She made her movie debut with the independent film Surrender Dorothy, which I haven't seen. I don't see much of. She doesn't have a lot of horror to speak of.
No.
She's got Slither and a movie called The Uninvited, which was a terrible dumpster fire remake of the Korean film A Tale of Two Sisters that I love.
I didn't see the remake, but I heard that it wasn't very good.
It was terrible. And then she also starred in the movie Brightburn, which I consider definitely to be a horror film.
Yeah.
And I thought that movie was awesome. I really enjoyed Brightburn.
I liked it too.
Brightburn, you said?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to have to check that out.
We saw that together, as I recall.
We did in theaters.
Yeah, we had a good time back when you could go out and see a movie in the theater with your friends.
Yeah.
Breathe air.
Yeah, back when you could breathe air.
Indoors.
But yeah, so that's all I could find for her horror creds.
Sure.
Next, we got Nathan Fillion. He is definitely too Canadian to play a redneck.
Yeah.
And his character's name was Bill Party. He was the cop. Born in Edmonton, Alberta on March 27th, 1971. Both of his parents were English teachers. I just thought that was cool.
Can I just throw in here that real quick that he is like at times the spinning image of Jason Bateman and also Jeremy O'Connell?
Yeah.
I guess
spitting image is not an accurate statement.
Like I can see it if I kind of squint.
Like he bears a resemblance.
Yeah.
A strong resemblance.
I want you to look up Jason Bateman and then open up another.
I looked at their pictures side by side on Google and they could be brothers.
They could probably be like cousins.
I would say brothers. And then like Jeremy O'Connell could be their cousin or something.
Okay.
Anyway, continue.
Regardless, Fillion got his start in theater and television, including theater sports and rapid fire theater. He moved to New York City in 1994 to join One Life to Live, which, wow, yowza.
Yeah.
He actually gained cult status by starring as Malcolm Reynolds in Joss Whedon's Firefly series.
Which is a very fine television show.
It is. If you had the misfortune, as I did, of seeing it air on, I think it was Fox.
Yeah.
They aired the episodes out of order. So it was this stupid garbage mix-up and none of it made sense. So I hated it.
Whoops.
And then years later, my friend David from Brainworms had the DVD and I was able to watch them in order, and then I fell in love with the show.
And Nathan Fillion.
He's done a ton of voice acting, and this is funny. His horror credits are Dracula 2000, not a great movie.
No.
Slither, pretty damn good movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then White Noise 2, not a good movie.
Not a great movie.
Most of his stuff is television, though.
Right.
All right, next we got Michael Rooker. That was one hell of a rash. And his character's name was Grant, which is stupid. If there's like one thing that I would complain about is nobody would name their fucking kid Grant.
Yeah, I'm sure it's happened.
That's stupid. Regardless, he was born in Jasper, Alabama on April 6th, 1955.
And then
Parents were all about banging because he has a shit ton of siblings, 9 in total.
Is it that they were all about banging or not at all about birth control?
It could be
it's both.
Combination of both, man. His folks split when he was 13, probably to save his mother's life. And he moved with his mother and siblings to Chicago.
My people.
And then he studied drama at the Goodman School of Drama at DePaul.
Excellent.
He actually got his start in a horror movie called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Hell
which was
yeah.
based on the confessions of Henry Lee Lucas.
Which you rave about pretty regularly. I need to see it.
It's a fucking dark ass movie, though. Like, you have to be prepared to need to take a shower afterwards because it's gross. But the movie was pretty successful and Rooker gained notice in the industry. He's been in fucking everything from like Mallrats to he was the meth addicted racist Merle Dixon in The Walking Dead.
Mhm.
He's got a decent amount of horror under his belt. He's got Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, The Dark Half, Shadow Builders, Slither, Whisper, Cell 213, Hypothermia, The Belko Experiment, and Brightburn.
He's also that kick-ass dude in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
With that mohawk
Yeah, that's
thing.
not a horror movie.
I know, but I just like...
I don't care.
You're so mad.
No, so I do know that Michael Rooker is definitely a sweetheart at conventions.
Mhm.
A buddy of mine, they came out with a game, I think it was Call of Duty Zombies or something like that, way back in yesteryear.
Mhm.
And there was this special poster, and there was like 4 actors that were involved in it, and Michael Rooker was one of those actors.
Nice.
And the last of those posters, like it was his personal poster, it was just there for him to show off.
Sure.
He sold that to my friend Jeremy for like what it would cost to just get a poster.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Signed it and everything. Michael Rooker was super cool to him.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Alrighty. So next we've got Tanya Saulnier, and she was the young lady that held her coffee cup with 2 hands like it was a Folgers commercial.
Oh, I hated that. I hated that
Yeah.
moment.
That was
It's a
Kylie
weird thing to have
Struttmeyer.
a hard on about.
I think I hate people that hold their coffee cup with 2 hands as they sip it.
The best part of waking up
Is
Yeah.
totally not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Folgers isn't great. She was born in Vancouver, BC on March 5th, 1982. That's actually my younger brother's birthday. Not 1982. He was born in 1985. Regardless.
It's also the password for all of your email accounts and social media.
Yeah, Tanya was once a competitive dancer and motorsport enthusiast. Her first notable acting role was a small part as Marcy Bennett in Cold Squad, a Canadian cop-drama. Her horror credits are Slither and the infamous Wicker Man with Nick Cage.
Oh.
The
okay.
Bees!
It's not a good movie, but it's a great movie.
It's so terrible. Next, we've got Greg Lee Henry. He was the shitbag mayor, but it was like Cthulhu, not Jaws. So he was Mayor McCready, which, funny story, was a mixture of Kurt Russell's characters from Big Trouble in Little China and The Thing. So it's Jack Burton and R.J. McCready.
Yep.
That wasn't a very funny story.
You actually took away from me telling that story, so thank you.
Are you guys done? Can I continue talking about this actor?
You please do.
Joe?
I guess, if you have to.
Joe's just going to wait it out, and then you'll start up again, and then he's going to do on you.
Yeah. Well, born in Lakewood, Colorado
Well,
on May
JD,
6,
now that you've said that, I'm not
1952.
going to.
He's a character actor that studied acting at the University of Washington in Seattle. He's also a musician. He is best known for his role as Dennis Bader in the made-for-TV film The Hunt for the BT Killer, and for playing heavies in other various films. He's mostly a television actor and has been featured in over 75 programs. I don't actually care, because horror, right? But his horror credits are Just Before Dawn, Fair Game, Raising Cain, The Hunt for the BTK Killer, Slither, and The Belko Experiment. Do you have anything else you wanted to add, Joe, since you seem really...
No, I was going to... I'm going to piss in your mouth. It is fun. James Gunn is one of those directors that that he has like a core cast that he likes to use in all of his things. I think that's cool.
Yep. Yeah, he's worked with Michael Rooker a lot.
Yeah. And his brother, Sean Gunn, who was also in this.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm. And this. He was in Slither.
Yeah, he was part of the monstrosity at the end. Yeah. All right, so next we got Don Thompson.
Whoa.
Who was Wally the Cop, probably?
Yeah.
He was born somewhere on October 19th, 1956. I don't know shit about this guy. After digging around, I found that he was in a couple of horror films. He was in Red Riding Hood, The Bad Son, and Slither, and that's what you get.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So come at me, yo.
There's a Bad Son connection throughout this. I've learned there's a few of the effects artists and...
I wish there was a good Son connection.
Right.
Brenda James, possums are delicious.
There's something wrong with me.
You don't really meet many Brendas anymore.
No, not since 90210.
I'm so hungry. Do you think you could feed me some of that possum over there?
Yeah, so Brenda was also born in Edmonton, Alberta, on a day at some point in time.
Cool.
Look, man, usually this stuff
No,
is
I
just
get it.
right there.
I get it. I
you know?
had the same issue doing research for this episode. It's a
Yeah,
thing.
I couldn't find any more information on her, Joe.
It's all dead and buried.
God, fuck
I
off.
was sympathizing with your plight.
But yeah, so she's known for Slither, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and Patriot Games. I know
What
they're
the fuck
not
is Sisterhood
horror.
of the Traveling?
I know they're not horror, but she didn't really have fucking anything else, all right?
Yeah, you do what you gotta do.
So,
I
I don't know, write the fucking prime minister and tell him to get us more info on her, all right?
None of that made sense, but continue.
Oh, here, I'll spell it out for you. So she was born in Edmonton, Alberta,
Yeah.
which is in Canada.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I figured at some point you would get it.
Yeah. It's because I only listen to, I don't know,
Right.
probably 40% of what you say.
It makes sense because listening to all 100% would make it so where you wouldn't want to talk to me anymore.
It's true. It's the only
So,
way
Joe,
that you can
what's-
keep friends.
What's happening then during the remaining 60% of what Kane is saying? Do you just hear like some white noise or like a fuzz?
I just kind of pick and choose the words that seem the most interesting, and those I process, and the rest just kind of blow by.
But what is the auditory experience like? Is it like just a fuzz or what is it? Like if you're not actually...
It's like the Charlie Brown, like the Peanuts cartoon.
Sure.
So
Okay.
just womp, 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 womp. James Gunn did this womp, 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 womp. And this movie, womp, 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 womp.
This is going to be fun
Right.
to edit. Go ahead.
Yeah. Next, we have Jennifer Copping.
Uh-huh.
I think that's how you say her name. She was Margaret, the other cop. I don't know, man.
Who even are you?
Dude, it was a thing, all right? Not a lot of info on her either, okay?
Okay, fair enough.
Also born in Vancouver, BC, all right, on June 9th, 1979. She's best known for Slither. It looks like she also played the role of Quaid in the television show Van Helsing. I don't know. I didn't watch that show.
Yeah.
No.
She's done a decent amount of television. Her horror credits include Rise of the Damned. There's like a mental hospital in a car crash, whatever. Slither, and then some really weird ass Molly Ringwald movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care.
Did John Hughes make it?
All right, next character in Slither.
Yeah, Jenna Fisher. And Jenna Fisher was Shelby Cunningham. Born in Fort Wayne, Indiana on March 7th, 1974. Regina Marie Jenna Fisher is best known for her role as Pam Beasley on the U.S. The Office. She was also the producer for the final season. She got her acting start, which is pretty fucking cool, with a touring murder mystery dinner theater group. She got noticed by a talent agent because of her appearance in a theater adaptation of Nosferatu.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah. Her first paying film role, though, and I thought this is pretty cool, was a sex education video for psychiatric patients leaving a medical center. I don't want to unpack that, but that was definitely fucking straight.
I think a lot of struggling actors do stuff like dinner theater to kind of get their start.
It was cool. Her horror credits are pretty much just Slither. But I mean, whatever. She's Pam, guys. She's Pam from The Office. She did have this weird conversation with a reporter about her relationship with John Krasinski on the TV Love and like how part of her will love him or some shit.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like weird and awkward, and honestly, I don't really want to talk about it. It's just
Then why
weird.
did you bring it up?
Because it was information, Joe. Information. All right, next we've got Haig Sutherland. Haig. What can I say about Haig?
I don't know.
Not much.
Not much.
Not much
No.
at all. He's from Vancouver, BC, born April 10th, 1983. He's an actor. He pretends to be stuff he actually isn't. He was in this Cold Squad cop show. His horror credits are Halloween Resurrection and Slither.
Mhm.
Now, this is for the listeners. Any actors that slip and fall into listening to this podcast, make sure you at least somewhat fucking exist on the internet somewhere. We don't need your like current address or any of that shit. Just anything about your career and maybe where you came from.
Yeah.
I mean, it only benefits shitbags like us. It doesn't make their lives any better.
Yes, it does. All right. What if, some fancy Hollywood horror guys like fucking listening to random podcasts during the withdrawal time of his cocaine binge, and he's waiting for his next 8-ball to show up, and he's just clicking on random bullshit on Spotify, listens to this episode, and is like, man, that Haig Sutherland guy, that name sounds great. I'd love to cast him in something, but I don't know anything about him.
That's a good point.
If he's an established actor, then he can be looked up. Like, the Screen Actors Guild is a thing.
You know what, Joe?
So we're not part of that. We're it's like A, B, C your way out sort of thing for us. We don't have information that they have. So yeah.
I mean, do we need to join the Screen Actors Guild so we can just get this information?
I feel like we're going to have to.
We're not screen actors.
Well, speak for yourself. I can pretend to be a screen actor and go ahead and join the guild. And if our listeners would contribute to our Patreon, then we'll have money to cover the dues.
Sold. All right, listeners, Patreon. All right, I guess I'll talk about the score. You guys ready for this? Because it's super in-depth.
Yeah, do it.
I'm sitting down.
Okay, yeah. The music was by Tyler Bates, but it wasn't by Tyler Bates. He just fucking threw together a mix track and pressed play.
Because it was the early 2000s, and that's how indie movies did scores.
Although, I will say there were moments of, anxiety building intensity that was the typical horror genre of violins or just shrieking, whatever you want to say.
I recognize that name. I think Tyler Bates went on to do other better soundtrack.
I mean, most of his scores are for like action movies and horror movies, but he's also the former lead guitarist for Marilyn Manson.
Okay.
His horror credits include Tammy and the T-Rex. I'm making the jerk off motion right now. The
Tammy
Dawn of
and
the Dead
T-Rex
remake
comes up on our shit.
I like
way
that
more than
movie.
it should.
I wasn't
don't know
making
what
the
it
jerk
is.
off motion until after Tammy and the T-Rex.
Okay.
But Dawn of the Dead remake, The Devil's Rejects, See No Evil. I'll stop for just a second. Slither, and then Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2 and others, whatever.
Okay. For some
I don't give a
reason,
shit
his
about
name
Tyler
is in my
Bates.
mind as making good soundtracks, but the evidence that you presented doesn't confirm that. So maybe I'm misremembering.
It's possible because I didn't see anything great. Maybe, the other thing is like once I realized, like, because I realized that he played guitar for Marilyn Manson.
Right.
I was like, oh, I don't care about this guy.
Sure. I understand that completely.
But yeah, so that's the score. Hey, JD, why don't you tell us about the computers? I mean, the CGI. I mean, the special effects.
Why you like this?
Yeah. There is not a valid explanation for why Kane is as he is, but...
Yeah, JD, why don't you tell us why Kane is like this?
Well,
good luck.
I don't
Good
have enough
fucking luck.
time. We're going to have to wrap up this hour before I can get to the bottom of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the special effects.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
let's talk about this.
Again, this is a movie with complexity.
Complexity?
CGI, prosthetic effects, special
he said he
effects,
was gonna
visual
get to the
effects
bottom.
of all kinds. And so what you have to keep in mind is that there are really too many artists involved with this project to talk about. So I just narrowed it down to the main players. Todd Masters was one of the, the Master Effects makeup specialists involved. Also, John, I think it's pronounced Gadecki, but I'm not positive of that. Anyway, and he was the sort of the Master Effects visual effects artist. And then Dan Rebert was the special makeup effects supervisor. So anyway, I'm going to break it down. Todd Masters is responsible for makeup effects in the films Fido, Slither, The Haunting in Connecticut, Blair Witch of 2016, Monster Man, Monsters the TV series, Tales from the Crypt the TV series, and he also has some special effects credits, which include The Virus, Child's Play, Slither, The Resurrected, Hellraiser Bloodline, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Return of Swamp Thing, Blue Monkey, and Night of the Creeps. And I think that sort of brings us back to the Night of the Creeps. The reason why that has come up and made Slither so comparable. I mean, really, James, I'm going to roll back for a second back to James Gunn because he credits David Cronenberg's film Shivers in 1975, obviously Night of the Creeps, and The Brood from 1979. as very influential films in the making of Slither. He also credits a Japanese comic, and I believe that it's pronounced Uzumaki. Oh, okay, Uzumaki. And that's another, an example of James Gunn giving credit to, So James Gunn didn't just pull Slither out of a hat and kind of claim it as own entirely creative intellectual property. He gives credit to where he sort of, pooled ideas from. Anyway, there's James Gadecki, I believe it's pronounced, and he was the visual effects supervisor, worked on Slither, Van Helsing, the TV series, Dracula, the TV series, Friday the 13th, the TV series, War of the Worlds, the TV series. This motherfucker is into some TV series.
Dude, War of the Worlds, the TV series, was awesome.
And he also was involved in the Outer Limits TV series, which I was a fan of. Then we have Dan Rebert. He worked on Slither, Terminator 2, Haunting in Connecticut, Necronomicon, Return of the Living Dead 3, and Species Part 2.
I actually liked the Species movie, the original one.
I don't remember if I did or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real horny.
It's vague in my mind, and horniness is an aspect that stands out. Anyway, I'm going to go and kind of talk a little bit about some of the prosthetic effects in the film Slither, because that is what drew me to that film in 2006 and made me a big fan. I picked this movie because I've been a lifelong fan of it.
Well, you've loved it its entire life.
Yes.
The prosthetic effects were very good.
They were.
So the parasites in Slither were composed of a particular thermal gel with a strong elasticity and many other properties, a certain gelatinousness to it that made it ideal. That particular product, this thermal gel, was originally developed for the adult novelty industry. Yep.
Nice.
All for boners.
Anyway, there were 500 or so, probably a few more than 500, but there were about 500 of those little pork tenderloin looking parasites created for this movie, which I find to be remarkable. Now, I know that it's acknowledged for its CGI, but there were a hell lot of prosthetic effects involved and practical effects and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Those effects artists that I spoke of, they referenced working from a book of, I think it's dermatology, the study of just like skin issues. And so they were just sort of referencing all of these disorders. And then they started going into kind of like the animal kingdom and looking at like tentacles and tubulars and certain, animals that had that sort of anatomy to it. And they were just like on this mission to combine all of those things to make it very human and make it also very extraterrestrial in really bizarre ways that I think were remarkable and well done. I really loved it. The Brenda monster, that was the there's something wrong with me. She's all pregnant in the barn and her body is just like writhing with these little parasite creatures. It was a 9-foot tall, lightweight spring steel frame, like an armature almost, and it was adorned with this, like a latex of some kind that was really, just remarkably designed. And it was sort of designed for her to, so the actress was able to sit on this little chair in like a booth, and it had like hand controls. That's how elaborate this thing was, and it sort of like, she could jiggle and move, and the thing would sort of mimic her movements, which I thought was really interesting. And there was a tiny latex opening that, she had heavy makeup applied to her face, and then she would sort of squeeze through this little rubbery opening that, would kind of collapse around her neck. And that's sort of how they pulled that off, which I think was pretty amazing. The Grant monster... One credit that was never mentioned in anything that I researched, I feel that the Grant monster really resembles Dr. Praetorius from Beyond very strongly. I mean, there's a resemblance there.
Oh, absolutely.
The Grant monster, they used 300 gallons of methylcellulose slime during the production of Slither. Isn't that an incredible amount?
That's an amazing amount, yeah.
And what's funny is that a lot of our movies are just very wet. They're very goopy.
Which I like.
I'm attracted strongly to those types of effects. I just feel like there's so much more of like an intimate bond for me with prosthetic effects in a film versus CGI. And this film sort of walks that line, but it does so in such a way that where I feel the two effects work together. There was a few uncomfortable, painful scenes to watch. There was a scene in the barn where the little parasites were released and they were covering things and covering people, and it looked sort of fake, but trust me, in 2006, when you were seeing it for the first time, it looked remarkable.
Well, does anybody have any more information they want to lay down?
No, but I do want to add that I like gooey puppets.
You do, Joe.
I have a couple more notable elements that I can throw down. Slither basically got they had this company who was making like the skin, like a silicone substance that they were using over the tubules and tentacles, and basically everything in the room. Remember near the end of the film where the Grant monster was sort of like propped up in this little, like a little den or wherever he was, and there were like all of these like tentacles just fucking everywhere. So they had like all these little bumps and whatever you'd want to call it, and pus and gelatinous goo, and everything sort of had this latex skin over it. Well, the demand of that latex skin was so great that the film Slither, they used so much that it actually depleted the national supply, and it took them months to catch up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they had to formulate more of it based on how much they used, which I think is just an insane amount. And real quick, I was just going to mention the difference that, they were very particular in this film to make this distinction between tubulars and tentacles. They were just trying to show that, like, there's just big differences in, like, the anatomy of, the alien and sort of, I don't know. But like tentacles you kind of like use to grab things with, and the tubulars you sort of use to impregnate. And that was sort of the method that Grant used to impregnate Brenda to create the large Brenda monster in the barn.
Would you say that they were totally tubular?
I would say totally tubular, and then I'd high five you, and then I'd go for a slice of pizza, bro.
Nice. And then we turn our baseball caps backwards.
Yep, and then some extreme soda pop of some sort.
Yeah, probably Jolt Cola.
Right.
Jolt.
So yeah.
All right, do we got any more knowledge to lay down?
I actually do. I'm sorry, I keep
Jesus
having
Christ.
thoughts. I failed to give a credit for the writing. I forgot to mention Fred Decker, who was also known for writing the Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps, who was a contributing writer to this film.
And Fred Decker also directed Night of the Creeps.
Also true. That's a lie. I was doing a comic bit about how this movie ripped off Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps of 1986?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. All right, well, Joe, why don't you talk about your personal experience with the movie?
Yeah, I initially saw this movie probably in the early to mid 2000s when I was very fond of The Devil's Lettuce. And, liked it. Again, and this podcast doing it, and Ken and I were talking about this earlier, has reminded me of how fond I am of goo and slime. And I enjoyed it then. And then I watched it with the two of you, and we did a podcast about it. And I like it. It's a very good movie. The prosthetics are super cool. There are elements in terms of like the writing that maybe hasn't held up as well as I might have liked them to. There's some homophobic language that gets tossed around that's a little cringy.
Right.
But overall, it's a fun fucking moves mile-a-minute horror movie. I had a good time with it.
Yeah, the mayor was a pretty crass individual with
Yeah.
a piss-poor vocabulary and
Yep.
referenced people poorly.
Yeah. And I want to ask the listener what their favorite moist puppet, and I'll throw that at you guys too, your favorite moist puppet moment in a horror film is.
You're my favorite moist puppet, Joe.
Nice.
I'm going to go with Ghoulies.
That's a good one.
Those are my favorite moist puppets.
I don't know if
JD?
you become more moist than popping up through a toilet. And I believe the Ghoulies did that. I think they kind of...
They did.
In fact, that's like the DVD movie cover is like a ghoulie basically popping up out of a toilet. And I believe it's holding a knife,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm not sure how it came up through that little opening in the toilet with a knife. Like, how do you?
It's a demon, man. It can do whatever the hell it wants.
Yeah, don't.
It's also a demon knife, like a.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Tales from the Crypt demon knife.
Something.
Everything's getting real dumb.
Yeah, this is a weird
JD,
one.
what's your favorite wet puppet?
Oh, geez. Probably Belial from Basket Case.
Oh yeah, that's a good one
so
too.
Gross. but that's acceptable. Well, why don't we follow that up with you telling us about your personal experience with the movie?
Yeah, Slither. Like I said, I kind of exhausted that story a bit in earlier parts of this podcast, but yeah, Slither, I saw it in the movie theater. I attempted to see it a second time, and it was already gone, which to me just reflected that this was an underappreciated horror film. I felt that it took a little bit too much heat for, borrowing some themes and ideas from other films. I believe it gave proper credit to those films, but I still feel like it didn't get the credit it deserved. I feel like it's an important horror film for the way that it used CGI and prosthetic effects together.
That was really cool, the way they kind of layered those things.
Yeah, and I felt that was a unique... And I really kind of look at the timeline of horror films, because I feel like I'm qualified to say this as a fan of horror. Especially the elements of horror that I key in on most are special effects.
Sure.
So I felt that when this movie came out, there had been quite a string of films before it that sort of abandoned prosthetic effects to a degree. Prosthetic effects never really went away, but they were less prevalent in films. You'd see a hell of a lot less of it. And I feel that Slither sort of breathed life back into prosthetic effects. I know that's a lot of credit to give a single film for doing, but I do believe that a lot of the horror films around that time just got away from it. So
sure. For
me, that's kind of, in my mind, why I appreciate Slither as much as I do.
Awesome.
So yeah, Kane, what about your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm known for loving horror just for the sake of loving horror.
Sure.
And I would say that this movie kind of falls into that realm for me. I consider it to be mostly a comedy. Like when I saw it, I think I also saw it in theaters. I thought it was great. I had a fun time watching it. I don't feel that I hold it with the same regard as you do, JD.
You don't give this movie the credit that it deserves.
I don't give the movie the credit you give it. Like when I think about prosthetic effects and whatnot, as far as like gore effects,
sure.
Like I think of movies like Event Horizon, In the Mouth of Madness, that kind of stuff. Like
sure.
when I'm thinking about like that era of horror, and this movie never really touched that base with me. I thought it was fun. I thought it was very reminiscent of From Beyond. Obviously, Night of the Creeps is there, but
this movie does have some cosmic horror elements to it.
It does. It absolutely does, and that's always been something that I've loved. So
sure.
I thoroughly enjoy this movie. I watch it at least once a year, if not a couple of times a year.
Good.
As far as what I would put out into the interwebs, I normally am the one that usually has some random weird shit to throw out there, but I don't today.
No.
I think that everything's been covered, So what I'll say is if you guys don't have anything else to add.
One last tidbit. The farm, Cassavet, was a reference to Rosemary's Baby. It was the last name of the Satan-worshipping neighbors.
Which is an interesting little trivia bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if you guys watch Slither, let us know what you think.
And you should. It's a good movie.
It is a good flick. Go ahead and watch it.
Order a pizza.
No. Pizza's the last thing you should eat while watching Slither. Oh my God.
A pork tenderloin.
Dude, I just thought about this. Michael Rooker kind of looks like Pizza the Hutt from Spaceballs.
Okay. You mean
guess.
as the Grant monster? You don't
As the
mean
Grant
as
monster.
just...
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the Grant
I thought
monster
you just
kind of
meant
looks
Michael
like Pizza the
Rooker.
Hut. No, Michael Rooker looks like Michael Rooker.
Well, you said it. The way you said it,
yeah.
I understand why Joe was confused. I was confused as well.
You can find us at wegiveyourainworms.com
Yes,
as
you
well
can.
as most of the places that podcasts live. Feel free to send us a message or comment. Definitely join our Discord channel where always excited to interact with people and talk about pretty much anything, but mostly horror.
Mostly moist puppets.
Come harass me on Instagram, yeah.
Yeah, check us out on Instagram, all that shiznit. Regardless, we warn you against forgetting to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube.
And don't
yeah.
forget to click the bell.
And click that fucking bell. It's right there. It's right next to the subscribe button. What are you waiting for?
It helps us, it helps you, and you won't be infected with alien parasites if you click it.
Although Slither was nice about saying that alien parasites come through your mouth. In the real world, they crawl through your butthole.
It's true.
Or your urethra.
Yeah.
Oh, that's come up a couple of times. All right. I'm clicking the button.
It's come up your urethra a couple times.
Yeah. Meh, 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 meh.
All
All right,
push the
bye. I
button
love
too.
you. Say it one more time, motherfucker.